My mic wasn't on. Well, you would have heard me smacking on that chicken bone. That's why I didn't have it on.
8:34 a.m. Your tongue is freaking blue, like you just ate a freaking Fun Dip.
No Fun Dip.
You had that little lick-a-stick in the powder.
That's
and you're eating a chicken wing. You're like a child. You're like a child, Lo. Your camera just turned on, and as soon as it turned on, you're taking a bite out of a chicken wing at 8:30.
I know. Oh my God, that's classic.
Is that from last night? Is that a leftover? Did you just make a
You know what?
batch?
No, I made some fresh chicken last night, the wings, and I didn't want to eat. I only ate like 2 last night because it was kind of late. So I said, you know what? This morning I got to the gym, worked out, 1,200 push-ups, 1,300 reps. I do, like I said, 100 reps on each of these machines in between sets, 100 push-ups. So you're talking about doing there 2,500 reps?
Hey,
I went hard.
I ain't questioning the calorie intake.
And then, so in this, it's all it's just protein. It's chicken. It's protein.
I understand. Protein's protein. Look, I just ate a couple scrambled eggs and some oatmeal, and maybe that's because I'm a stiff old white guy. that's what my breakfast consists of.
That's probably better. That's probably what I should be eating, but
yeah, Lowe's got blue drink and chicken wings. Together, Believe in Chargers. Lorenzo Neal, Matt Money Smith haven't been with Lowe since I saw him up in Fresno at his beautiful charity golf tournament and celebration. After that, he was out for a couple weeks, and then I was in Hawaii last week. Big thank you to the burner, Michael Turner, who I had an opportunity to spend about 5-6 hours with on the golf course, and is an absolute joy of a human being to be around. And a big thank you to Phil Sims, who joined us the week before. And Daniel Jeremiah, who joined us the week before. But we're back. We're back together, yes. And know that this is what it's going to look like going forward. Always great to see you, Lo. Hope your couple weeks were good and what you needed and everything's square moving forward. Looks like you got a nice little bit of lather going, so you're back in the gym.
Yes, back in the gym, but that's because I had I had a little Tabasco on my wings, money. So that's why I'm sweating. That's why I'm got that little sweat.
I don't know if it. Listen, I'll make it quick. If it was included, great. If it wasn't, Lo was eating wings at 8:30 a.m. right before we got this thing rolling. So that's why maybe there's a little bit of lather there after his 1,200 push-ups, 1,300 pull-ups, and 9,000 crunches. And I've seen it up close, man. The guy was doing 100 push-ups on a tee box up in Fresno and 100 degrees. Well, actually, no, it was actually kind of nice out, 85 degrees.
It was.
Lo, we got training camp starting in less than a week. We're doing this on Wednesday, so next Tuesday, I'll be out there for the start. Well, actually, I guess it's arrivals on Tuesday, and then really the things get rolling a week from today. So I figured we just kind of go through a little bit of the depth, and I want to dig into you and training camp and sort of what you remember about these first few days and what we should look for and what's important for championship culture. Obviously, you've been on teams that have made the Super Bowl and made those kind of runs. You know what it looks like and what it's supposed to look like early. Want to thank our friends at FanDuel. You see it down there on the bottom. Huge thank you to them. Was going through the FanDuel stuff earlier, and there's some fun ones in here, man. And, we say it all the time, the Super Bowl odds still stagnant. I think they're sixth, they and the Chiefs. Here we go. Yeah, so you got Rams, Ravens, Bills, Seahawks, 49ers just ahead of them. So there they are at 6, tied with the Chiefs right now. And the folks, at FanDuel think a lot higher of the Chargers than it feels like a lot of the folks that are starting to kind of post their predictions for the upcoming season. I feel like the FanDuel and the odds favor the Chargers more maybe than the talking heads are right now. And the Chiefs are starting to get a lot of love. And I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with maybe word coming out that Patrick Mahomes looks like he might be ready to roll week 1.
Yeah, I tell you, looking at that, I think they're too low. We've been doing this show now a couple of years, and I've never said, hey, the Chargers, they're going to win it. This is their year. They're the best team. I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, the more pressure in the whole league is on one guy, and I don't think that it'll get to him. but it's on Herbert. This is the first time that he has a 4-2 receiver. He's got a McConkey who can get in and out of breaks better than about any receiver. He's quick, can cut on a dime. You can put him in slot. He can move him around. You got Q. I look at this Charger team and I look at that where they're at in position. You can look at Baltimore, and yes, it's different now because they got a new coach, but Harbaugh is a Harbaugh. It's the same type of tradition. They still got some left hangover that's going to be there because Harbaugh's a good coach, John. And those guys in Baltimore are going to play. But they don't. I think you look at Derrick Henry, had a tough time holding the ball. You see the quarterback. Lamar Jackson doesn't want to take as many hits. He's not that Lamar Jackson of old. He's getting older. He's a pocket. Now he's got to be more in the pocket. He's not a great, accurate quarterback. Can he throw? Absolutely. Is he athletic? Hell yeah. Is he talented? Yes. Josh Allen does not have the defense. I'm telling you, this Chargers team, barring injuries, to me is and I have not said this ever, is the front runner. If barring injuries, now these tackles got to stay healthy. Mac guys got to stay healthy. Barring injuries, what you did on offense, what you did at the running back position, and you got a guy that people talk about. This should be Herbert's year to show me consistency, persistency, and he doesn't have to do it all because he's got so many other weapons and so many other guys that can make plays. From Gaston, he's got a tight end receiver that's too fast for linebackers, too strong for safeties. You went on got another
Njoku.
tight end, Janu, freaking a tight end down on the red zone. You have everything on this offense. Herbert finally has all of his toys, his hydraulics, everything he needs to make this thing go. And oh, by the way, you got a new guy who's teaching you how to drive all these tools, and Mike McDaniels, who's offensive genius. I'm telling you, to me, barring injuries, this team is number one team in the AFC.
Yeah, I think just kind of to your point about Herbert and all the pressure, if he had never done it before, it'd be one thing. But, I'm looking at that 2021 season, right? And you talk about having Q, having Ladd, and, sprinkling in some Brennan Thompson and that 4.2 speed. And obviously, I think Tre Harris is going to have a big breakout year. But look at his second season, right? 2021, first year with Joe Lombardi. And even if you go to his rookie season, in those 15 games, as a rookie to throw 31 touchdowns to just 10 picks, 4,300 yards. But that following season, he threw for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns. That season, 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns. And when you go through it, you're like, all right, well, what were his weapons? What did he have? We definitely don't want to look at that because I don't want to go 2021 postseason. That was a nightmare. So here we go. When you get into the 2021 regular season, 5,000, like I said, 5,014 yards, 66% completion, averaged nearly 300 per game, 295 per game. Those 38 touchdowns, and you look at the receivers, right? And it was the year of Mike and Keenan, right? It's Mike with 1150, Keenan with 1140, Mike with 9 touchdowns, Keenan with 6, and then right behind that was Eckler. I think if you told me your top tight end's going to give you 604, you sign up for that. That's what Jared Cook had, 570 and 4 touchdowns. And then you sprinkled in your Jalen Guytons, Josh Palmer's, Donald Parham with 3 touchdowns as a tight end, in the red zone, that 6'8" target. And when I look at that, and it's like, okay, so that was his most productive season, right, as a passer. Austin Eckler was in the backfield, 900 yards on 4.4 per and 12 touchdowns. Do I think Omarion Hampton can surpass that? Yeah, definitely. I think Omarion Hampton, Kamani Vidal, and Keaton Mitchell can surpass what Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson did as a duo. And then Herbert was the third leading rusher. Joshua Kelly had very little impact. Excuse me. And then I look at the receivers, and it's like, okay, it's going to be hard to – well, I shouldn't say that. I just don't want to be a prisoner of the moment and maybe belittle what Mike and Keenan put together that year because we were there for every game. I saw it, and it was special, man. Mike was as good a downfield threat as there was in the league. He was the best 50-50 ball winner in the league. Keenan was the best third down receiver in the league. It was a special year. But I think that Ladd can replicate what Keenan did. I don't have any question about that. With 11, 38, and 6, I think Ladd can do that. And then I think the big question is Mike is, how close can Q get to that, or can you just take a Q Tre sort of combination to equal that? And then I also think that Njoku, Kolar, and Gadsden can far surpass what Jared Cook and Donald Parham did. So I think what I'm getting at here, Lo, is when you go through the roster, you're like, okay, what was Herbert's most productive season? There it is. Does he have the tools to best that from a skill position standpoint? I think the answer is an emphatic yes.
Yeah, and just on top of that, with like you was talking about Tre and Tre Harris, and you're talking about Q. Tre wants to be great. Here's a guy that's in his second year. That money. We brought the great LT on. He said, "Hey man, this guy can play." You watched him. You see a Tre, the catches. He wants to be great. He's not afraid. Now he's in his second year. Here's a guy that's going to walk around with that chip on his shoulder and demand and want more playing time. And he believes that he belongs on this stage. And he showed you, by God, last year that he belonged on this stage. So I think that they can, match that. So when you're talking about this team collectively, and you've had those times where they put up the yards and get all those yards, and it's like first round in playoffs, you're out, or second round, you're out. This team now, you're seasoned. You're not waiting for someone. I think those teams, you waited for someone who's going to make a play. Herbert sometimes had to care. He's in a way better situation. Eckler was a great little back, ran hard, could make some plays, really good. But you're talking about lightning the ball. You're talking about Omarion Hampton, who's big. Or we had talked about Michael Turner-esque. Fast, can get out and break away and lead guys. He's closest to a Michael Turner, and probably a little faster, maybe a little bit more wiggle than a Turner. So when you think about what he's going to bring to the table, and when with the three tight ends that you have, and these two tackles that you have now collectively, they're in their finest hour of their career. You're talking about a veteran seasoned team that the whole team wants to roar. The whole team have a lion inside of them that's wanting to get out. It's not a little, okay, do we belong? Can we, or we're going to fill our way in the puck. This team is looking forward to it. They are tired of not meeting expectations. This team is like, no, we know what we got to do. You talked about having, interviewing one of the linemen. He goes, we're underachieved. We need to be here. So that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, that was Slater. Now, by the way, I know what people might be thinking, like, oh, what's going on at left guard? Okay, so here's the offensive line that was in front of Justin Herbert that year that he threw for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns, because you dealt with injuries. So the starting offensive line was Brian Bulaga, Ode Abushi, Corey Linsley, Matt Filer, Rashawn Slater. Bulaga was on early retirement. He was done by the time week one rolled around. It was appreciate the swing by Tom Telesco. Guy was a nightmare signing. Had no interest in continuing to compete after he left Green Bay. Ode Abushi, I believe he was there for I don't know how many dates. I feel like he got kicked out of there. Let's see if I go to October. Yeah, by because I remember Matt Filer was your right guard, was your left guard. Rashawn Slater in his rookie campaign ended up as an All-Pro that year, was your left guard. So let's go to November. By then, Storm Norton and Brennan Hymas. That's the right side of your line. Brennan Hymas, Storm Norton.
Who?
Exactly. Corey Linsley, who was an exceptional center, and that's why we're so excited about Tyler Biadasz taking over for Bradley Bozeman, because we know, and that's kind of, I think it illustrates the point of, you had Slater, you had Linsley, you had Filer, so you're really strong on that one side, and they were able to work and deal with that issue they had on the right side of the line. Like, hey, our right side is a mess. It's a guy that's never been a starter, a second guy that's really never even been a backup, but was an emergency insertion. And Brennan Hymas, he was a tackle who then tried at guard, who didn't work at guard, and was then moved to center, and that didn't work. And I don't even know if Hymas is in the league anymore. And then they signed Michael Schofield for like his third tour of duty with the Chargers off, a practice squad, because, that wasn't working. So by the end of the year, You had Storm at right tackle, Schofield at right guard, Lindsley, Filer, Slater. And that accounted for 5,000 yards, 38 touchdowns. What should have been a playoff win against Jacksonville until it just completely fell apart because of that stupid reverse that Joe Lombardi ran with Michael Bandy, of all people, that led to the turnover late in the first half and the first touchdown. And just, I'll never forget the pit in my stomach at halftime. And they're like, what's your problem? It's 28-7. I was like, we've lived this. This doesn't feel right. So it's a long way for us to get to when that team rolls onto that field at the Bolt for training camp a week from today and day one. It's going to be a much better looking offensive roster in every single position group. Here's your depth of tight end: Jared Cook, Donald Parham, Steven Anderson, who I like quite a bit. Trey McKitty, who was a big whiff, drafted in the 3rd round. Anderson made up for it, though. He was a lot of fun. They should have played him more. I don't know why they didn't. In the backfield, Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson, Josh Kelly. So when you go through that, right, that season of the Chargers, the most productive of Herbert's career, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton, Josh Palmer were your receivers. I mean, this receiver room's better. I know people think I'm crazy because of how good Mike Williams was when he was healthy. But I think just with the depth, when you tell me I get Ladd versus Keenan, I have no question that Ladd can replicate that. And I think when I get Q plus Trey in terms of Mike Williams plus Jalen Guyton, I think those things end up being greater than what that was. And then the tight end room, like I said, isn't even close. Charlie Kolar, David Njoku, and Oronde Gadsden. And then your running back room, Omarion Hampton, Kamani Vidal, and Keaton Mitchell, and now you've got Joe Alt at right tackle with Slater instead of Storm Norton. Like it's not even close.
It's a huge step up, and people know that. And yeah, does other teams change and get better as well? Yeah, but this Charger team, they're just poised. The offensive line is, got some veteran guys on that offensive line. You guys that's been in this league, they've seen the live bullets. They've seen them in the playoffs where things are even faster. They've seen them in the regular season. You're talking about now a team that, you have Ladd now going in his 3rd year who's mature. You have these guys now that's been battle tested that are stepping in and understanding, hey, look, it's football. It's not going to change. Now the game is slow. I mean, you watch Ladd it's not even close.
Those whip routes, man.
Yeah, it's not even close at him and Keenan far. Now, can Keenan make some make catches and unbelievable? Just know how to get sits, reads the zones. Keenan's awesome. I'm not taking anything from him. Guy, Hall of Fame type of career. But Ladd is going to show he will get 1,000 yards easy, like you said. And the biggest thing is there enough balls to go around? Because this offense is very talented, Money. Do you think there's going to be enough balls to go around to all these guys? Because you're talking about some tight ends that can make they're game-changing tight ends. These aren't just like chain movers. These tight ends can make some plays.
Yeah, if David Njoku stays healthy, he's a complete he's a freak of nature. When we had DJ on, I asked him point blank, I was like, who do you think ends up end of the year? Who's the number 1 tight end? And he didn't pause. He goes, David Njoku. He goes, when you don't have to count on him to be your number 1 guy, and he's got to be out there for all those snaps, and you can massage and you can manage those reps, and it can be a ton of Charlie Kolar and Oronde Gadsden, and all of a sudden, here's your red zone. Let's walk this guy out. You try to deal with 6'4", 260, chiseled with, the athleticism of a 35-inch vertical. Yeah, go ahead, and you just trot him out. Once you get inside the 20, David, your time, no problem. You're the closer. And I think, you didn't, and that's kind of what Donald Parham was. Parham would just roll out when they got inside the 10. And that's how you end up with just a handful of targets and 4 touchdowns, to go with Jared Cook 6 touchdowns. Like, Herbert loves throwing to tight ends. I think, Lindsay, our executive producer, if she's with us, MVP odds, I believe she pulled. I can dig around on FanDuel. Look at that. Right on top of it. I mean, the sharps, man, they think the same, or at least the folks at FanDuel are like, hey, man, look out for the sharps because they're coming for Herbert. You got him ahead of the guy that finished a couple votes shy of winning the MVP in Drake May, just barely behind Matthew Stafford. And I think if you told me from this board, if I had to sort of like, hey, where's my best bet? Like, what's the best use of my investment? If I've got a C note and I want to maximize it, I get that Josh Allen's there, and I think he right now is operating as the best quarterback in the league. I'm the guy rushes for freaking 20 touchdowns a year. But I think right behind that, I'm probably looking at Matthew Stafford. And then I'm probably looking at Justin Herbert. I can't trust Joe Burrow with the injury situation. You talked about Lamar, and now you've got a first-time offensive coordinator that's never called plays before. And I think Herbert's got better-looking receivers than Lamar has. And I think the jump in competition for Drake is going to be significant. So I'm comfortable right there. I think that tells you kind of the way the league views it. So I think it's kind of right in step with what we're talking about, though.
It really is. And of course, Josh Allen, like you said, he's so big, he's so strong. He runs over guys, runs through guys. He can go in halftime, put on the cape, and come out as Superman. He can, and he can do so many things when plays break down, and he can do them in a hurry, and he can do them in a physical manner where you're not worried about him getting hurt because he's usually delivering the blow. I like him. You look at another guy that, and then I think Herbert, like you're saying, but a guy that's just, he gets hurt, we get it, but he's just so smart and he's so cerebral. Matthew Stafford. I mean, you look at Stafford, his IQ, the receivers, and Njoku, his receivers that he had, one of Fresno State's finest, Devontae Adams. You think about Stafford and how he operates that offense and what he's able to do and that's why they got another quarterback, because they know he's getting older, but he's still with some weapons. They have a good offense, great defense. So that's why he's going to always be in that mix. But like you said, after Josh Allen, Herbert has the weapons. He has the tools. And Herbert is a big boy too. And he can run, he can scramble, he can do some amazing things. You just don't want him to get hurt. I think I really believe that, this is going to be an amazing year for this Chargers team. I wouldn't be surprised. And I wouldn't be surprised if still in Buffalo. I just don't see.
No, we'll see in week 3, right?
Yeah, I just don't see Baltimore this year. I just think that their window's closing, and it's closing fast. But it's open for the Chargers.
I mean, the fun thing about it is just kind of what you're speaking to. Lo, think about it. We've got Buffalo in week 3, and we've got let me see. I pull up the schedule here real quick. So we're at Buffalo week 3, right? That's a team that's favored to win the AFC. Who else is ahead of them? Baltimore. At Baltimore, Monday night, November 16th. They're tied with Kansas City. Get them at Kansas City Sunday. 125 kick, that afternoon window, probably going to be a Jim Nance, Tony Romo, or a Tom Brady. Actually, it says it's CBS. That'll be a Jim Nance, Tony Romo special. And then, when you're talking about New England, that's right there with him. We mentioned Drake May, who's right behind him. Get him at home. Sunday night football, with Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. So we're going to have, all 4 heavyweight fights for 4 of the favorites in the AFC. The only one you're not going to see is Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and whether or not, they can be. And I think they could be a tough out. Formidable. Look, it just comes down to Burrow. If he can stay healthy, when you've got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Chase Brown in the backfield, man, that is a nasty bunch to have to try to contend with. And we've seen it. We've seen it twice where they're trading punches and that final score is 38-35 or 34-28. Like, those have been really fun games. So I think that just to kind of put a wrap on that whole thing from 2021, my point is, like, all of the sky is falling, left guard talk, is Cole Strange really our right guard? Man, they went through a season where he threw for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns with basically Storm Norton and a rotating cast of have no business being on the football field right guards. Michael Schofield, who was not playing before he was brought back to close out the season.
Right.
Prior to that, Brennan Hymas, who was drafted as a tackle, wasn't effective enough there, was kicked into guard, wasn't effective there, then was kicked into center, and is now, I believe, out of the league. And prior to that, Ibushi. And he got hurt right away. I think they got Ibushi from the Jets. Nice guy. But I look at it now and I think everyone's got Jake Slaughter penciled in there at right guard. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that, man. We saw Sheik out there with the ones. I think Trevor Penning to me, he looks more like the sixth guy. He just makes sense as your sixth guy outside of Alt. And you're like, oh my God, I'm looking at 700 pounds of human on this side. And now I've got Charlie Kolar in motion running right behind him, and now I've got 950 pounds of human coming at me. Like, to me, Penning makes a lot of sense as that sixth offensive lineman. But like, it's a better situation than it was in 2021. And that's what the numbers produced.
Yeah, and the numbers don't lie. They are what they are. But now you have two tackles that are healthy, and they're going to protect Herbert. You went out and you went in free agency, said, look, we're going to protect Herbert in the middle. We're going to make sure that center, we go out and get a center. Because when you have a center that can hold his point, it, money, the quarterbacks, the first thing they want to do is they want to climb up in the pocket.
Yeah.
If you let the pocket squash, if they can't climb up, then no speed rush is going to. But when you got two great tackles that can hold the speed rush, you got a good center guard, they can play off each other, because there's only going to be one guy that's undoubled, that's matched up one-on-one. You can always have help by the center and guard those two guys, or whoever they're going to help. He can either fade to either side to see that. So, and you have a smart center. So more than likely, you're going to have some one-on-ones with the tackles, and that's fine. You want that, and only one of your guards, and they're probably going to try to, maybe go after their left guard and say, hey, let's test him. Let's try to put a man over him, put a man over the center, so he can't turn to that particular side. So we understand those things. So it's going to be tried by the fire early to see if you can hold up. And if you can hold up, then they're going to have to try other things. So I think when you're only worried about one position on that offensive line, it's way better than have to worry about two. And if your center is solid, that means a lot.
Yeah. And so here's what the numbers were from that season with that offensive line. Chargers were fourth in passing, 390 yards per game. Only the Cowboys, Buccaneers with Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes Chiefs were ahead of them. Passing yards per game, they were third. Rushing yards per game, they were all the way down at 30, 28, 26, 24, 22, 20th. So I think the running attack can certainly be better than 20th. And in points per game, they were fifth, behind only the Chiefs, Bills, Bucks, and Cowboys. Like, that is how productive that offensive season was, with Justin Herbert at the trigger, with Joe Lombardi flamed out as an OC in Detroit, has been basically Sean Payton's right-hand guy his whole career as an OC. Joe Lombardi's whole career has been next to Sean Payton. And it was a great season, and obviously Mike Williams had a career year. Keenan Allen caught 100 balls. Austin Eckler had a career year. I think about 1,400 combined for him. And I think a combined, I think he had 20 touchdowns combined. So if I remember right so that's sort of what I think is, I don't think you're taking a myopic staring through powder blue colored glasses, kind of projecting what this thing can look like. And also I think on the flip side of that is I don't think the sky is falling offensive line talk is appropriate, considering what we've seen from Herbert behind some of the worst offensive lines in the league, including last year, winning 11 games with your fifth and sixth tackle out there, and arguably the worst center in the league. And they won 11 games.
But I'll tell you, the biggest question mark for me this year, barring, we already said offense, don't get injured. But the biggest for me, and last year, is like, hey, look, if this offense scored, but we came in saying, look, if you can get to 24, if you got to 24 last year, how many games you would have won? That's a question that, you look at, if they have made it 24. But the question for me this year is defense.
Yeah.
That is the offense. I'm not worried, barring injuries. And I know the defense hasn't changed a lot, but I don't know what we're going to see. You really don't have a great corner, not a lockdown. It's been by committee. It's been guys that just stand up and the system has dictated and make guys get after. You want to see a great corner? Give me a great pass rush. We understand that. So you've had great pass rushes. You can get after guys. But the system with the corners, they protect it. They break on balls. It's done by technique. Hey, look, guys got inside the numbers. They know what he's running. He can only run a certain amount of routes. If he's outside the numbers, he's not running a 5 route. He's not running. So they're reading technique. They're reading stance and alignment. So these are smart guys, and coaches have taught that. I just don't know where the defense will be, especially from a secondary point this year.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think that's it's funny too, right? Because the defense has carried this team for the last 2 years to 11 wins. It's basically all you do is score 3 touchdowns and you're winning games, and far too many they couldn't. I think the one thing for me when I look at, everyone's pointing to that stretch of 7 games from week 3 through week 10. And they're like, you're talking about 7 games at Buffalo, at Seattle back-to-back, Denver at home, at Kansas City before the bye, and then home away game at Rams, Houston home, at Baltimore. It's a gauntlet. It's a total gauntlet. Do not disagree with that whatsoever. And based on, the odds, Buffalo, is going to be favored in that game. But at the same time, I would assume they're looking at their schedule and they're like, here's the Buffalo schedule. They start at Houston, home Detroit, home Chargers, home Patriots, at the Rams.
Wow.
No, nobody's talking about that particular gauntlet. For the Ravens, they're going, when they get the Chargers, they will have had Bengals, Bills, Jags, Chargers. That will be their
tough out.
Yeah, exactly. Kansas City, when they get the Chargers, that will be Chargers. After the Chargers, they've got Seattle, then they've got Denver. That's their bang, bang, bang. And then who else was in there? Baltimore. I think I already mentioned Baltimore. Seattle I mentioned. So let's see. Seattle, when they get the Chargers, will be Chargers, 49ers, Broncos, Chiefs, Bears. That's like, my point is that's everybody's schedule, man. Like when you're in the AFC West or you're in the NFC West or you're in the AFC Central or AFC North, there's no more Central. That's how old I am. Like life is tough, man. You're playing the Broncos, you're playing the Chiefs, and they've got the NFC West on their schedule. So you're playing the Seahawks, 49ers, and Rams. It's just, but all of those teams are like here's a stretch the Rams have. Green Bay, Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle, Tampa, Seattle. And everyone's projecting the Rams to win 14 games. And they're not looking at that stretch of games and being like, it's a pretty rough 7-game stretch there. Like,
right.
I think for all of the doom and gloom about that 7-week, and the Texans, that's the one I forgot. So the Texans, they're in the AFC South. So it's a little bit different. And they're playing, it looks like, the NFC East, so not as formidable. Like the Texans, they start Buffalo, Cincinnati, then they get Indy, then Dallas, then Tennessee, Jags, Giants. Like, okay, so the way it lined up for them is a little bit more favorable. After the Chargers, they get the Browns, and then they get the Colts, and then the Ravens, the Steelers, the Commanders, the Jags, the Eagles, Green Bay. Okay, so there's a little bit of a stretch there, right? Where they've got to deal with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Washington, Jacksonville, Philly, Green Bay. It's everybody.
Money, is it safe to say, in your opinion, there's 3 bad teams in the league?
Right.
And the 3 bad teams, I would say Arizona, Cincinnati, and Tennessee, and is it Atlanta?
I think Tennessee could be pretty good, to be honest with you.
They could be. You think the quarterback, going to take that step?
I like Cam Ward. I like him.
I think he's a hard worker. I love the effort. I love his energy. But you think they can be pretty good?
I think so. I've got so much belief in that defense, man, with Jeffrey Simmons. Such a load, man. Do I think they're going to be a playoff team? No. But I don't think they're like, if you're talking about, hey, look, the Jets are coming to town. The Dolphins are coming to town. The Browns without Myles Garrett anymore.
Right.
Like the Browns. And then after that, no, I think the Falcons are still pretty darn good. I think they're okay. I mean, they've got weapons. I think, you mentioned Tennessee, maybe, but like I said, and Arizona, that's it.
Arizona. Arizona's probably a bad team.
Arizona, like the ones I'd be comfortable saying, like I think Arizona and Miami are in for long seasons. Outside of that, I mean, the Jets, like the Jets aren't. I'm trying to like. The Jets still have some pretty decent pieces on defense. Like they just drafted David Bailey. They got Devondre Sweat and Will McDonald out there. Like, now the Jets are pretty bad.
You think can they get 5-6 wins? Jets?
The Jets are, I mean, well, you know what though? Their offensive line's not bad. You look at, Membo and Fashanu as your tackles. Parham's a solid guard. Myers, solid center, and they got Breece Hall in the backfield, so they might be able to run the ball.
Right.
Garrett Wilson's a heck of a receiver. I really like, kind of what they did. I think they did a heck of a job in the draft. So, I mean, now we're really kind of getting away from it, but that's hence this conversation. All right, before we get out of here, Lo, I do want to ask you, just because you've lived it. Give me an idea. Like, what do we want to see? Because their training camp practices are open. What's important for a team in this first couple days of training camp? Like, what's the most important thing that we should be on the lookout for?
I think commitment and unity. When you're committed, then you have the unity, and you want to see the leadership come to the forefront. You want to see your guys who supposed to be the stars grab guys and hold these young guys, because you got a pretty good rookie class, and your young guys in their second year, these guys are going to contribute big. So the quicker this team can come together, the quicker the coaching staff can get these guys to bond and come together as a fist and as a unit together. That's what I want to see. I want to see guys flying around. I want to see the veteran guys bringing these young guys around, because it's going to take a village. You have everything you need to get where you want to get. It's how do you, sound the alarms to get the troops to keep up with the soldiers, get everyone to keep up with with the leaders, and this team will be fine. So what do I want to see? I want to see this training camp, the Christmas, togetherness, the unity, come together soon, come together quick, because you don't want to play all these guys, but you can come together in training camp and become that bond and become that unit that can be a force.
It's going to be fun. Hopefully, I think the tickets went in like 10 minutes, the first ones that they put up for training camp. So going to be an electric atmosphere out there. If you didn't know, check out Chargers.com. They do have open training camp practices. They're really fun. Lowe's been out there, and people get excited when they see him. A lot of former Chargers roll out, get photos with them and autographs after practice. They always have like a kids corral where all the kids can pile in, and they'll usually grab 3 or 4 players that'll come over and sign stuff. And they got giveaways, little mini footballs and wristbands and things like that. So especially if you got the youngins, it's a really fun atmosphere. Yes, you're watching a practice. Like, never forget, like, I don't want to sell it too much. You're still watching practice, but there's a little bit of 11 on 11 in there, and it can be fun. And you see the individuals when the guys are going at it. The O-line, D-line drills are kind of fun if you're able to bring a pair of binoculars and kind of keep your head on a swivel and figure out where everything's happening. You're still going to see some really fun stuff. So highly recommend that. And next week we'll, I think, go through that 90-man and kind of start figuring out how this thing's going to look. I thought today was fun. It was great to be back with you, Lo.
No, you too, man.
I guess back to making out with Smurfette or whatever the hell's going on inside your mouth there.
Absolutely, baby. We're gonna bolt up. See, I got the Charger Blue, baby.
That's right, you do. You got the
see, I'm prepared. Got the Charger Blue, but I'm excited, money. Excited about training camp. I'm gonna be down there to see, and I'm gonna hang out and talk to people. But I'm excited about this coming season. I'm just praying and hoping that the injury bug don't get this team, because it's poised. It's in a great position to make some hay.
It's gonna be fun. It's going to be fun, and we're going to be out there. We're going to bring him down. I told you I brought up Fresno to coach, and even though it's not going to happen this year, he's like, I know.
So bring it up, baby.
Going down to San Diego. So those of you down in, all our friends down in San Diego at the University of San Diego, don't forget, make sure you check in when they put those things up and make those available. I think that might be military only. I think that might be military I'm not sure. But check Chargers.com. They'll have all the details on that for the USD run, which I think is in a week, or not next week. It's a week after we start. So, all right. Big thanks to Lindsay, and be sure to check out FanDuel.com for all of those great Charger. Here, you know what? I'll leave you with this because there were some fun ones that I dug out on FanDuel that I thought were pretty good. How about plus 185 to win the AFC West, plus 1,300 to have the best regular season record. And then there was one more. We talked about Super Bowl already. 14 wins, if you think they can put that special season together, plus 750 there. So, yeah, just a couple of the fun. Oh, this was the one I was looking for. How about this, Lo? Do you remember? There we go. There's the regular season wins. So your best value are the unders, which we're going to stay away from because we don't want to look at those. But that's obviously where the money is because I think they're going to win 10 games. But how about this one, Lo? And I think about that magical season with LT. Chargers to score one or more rushing touchdown in every regular season game. You put down 100 for 22,500.
Wow.
Have you ever been on a team that has scored a rushing touchdown in every single game?
Wow. I would say
it does not happen a lot, but
it doesn't. LT's year, right?
I think that's the only thing I can think of.
That's hard.
I'm going to see if let me look at his game log because I feel like there was one game.
I think we scored. I think every game though we had a rushing touchdown. Maybe he didn't get one, but I think we had a rushing touchdown every game that year.
You think so?
He had 30 of these.
He had 28. Yeah, 28 and 2 or 28 and 3. He had 31. So let me see if I can. Here we go. Here's his game log. No, did not have one against Pittsburgh. Did not have one against Baltimore. Didn't have one against Seattle. Didn't have one against Arizona. 4 games, no rushing touchdowns. And I can tell you right now that year, wasn't nobody getting the ball at the goal line to be scoring rushing touchdowns except for LT. So I don't have to look at anybody else to see if they happen to score a rushing touchdown in that game. Let me see.
No, we did because Michael. I think one of those games. So we didn't score rushing touchdown
against the Cardinals. You had no rushing touch. Against the Cardinals, you had no rushing touchdowns in week 16, or in game 16, I should say. Let's see. Here's another one for LT against the Seahawks. You had no rushing touchdowns, 2 VJACs, pass TD receptions.
Wow.
And then against KC, let's see what we got here. You had Gatesy, Tomlinson on a 37-yard pass, and a Brandon Manumaleuna 1-yard pass from LT. So there you go. Yeah. So it is not easy.
That's a tough bet. Then I'm
that's
not.
Why it's
wow.
That's why it's at 100 to win 22,500. So
we go 50 apiece on that money. You and I will throw 50.
Why not?
If it happens, I mean, what the heck, right?
It's Mike McDaniel. Has any NFL team scored a rushing TD in every game in a regular season? Let's see. With the old AI tools, makes it easy. Several teams. Most recently, 2019 Baltimore Ravens. Touchdown in all 16 games. So that's the most recent. Prior to that, it doesn't happen
a
lot. Before that, it was the 06 Chargers. So I guess they did in 06. I was in the wrong year.
That's LT's year.
So it said that doesn't make sense though, because I was looking at 06. Prior to that, it was 1975.
Wow.
So let me get back in here to LT's area. Where the heck is it? Sorry, everybody. We're doing the little.
It's all right. They're loving that. They're loving the
exactly. Trivia. We're looking it up. I was in 2006, so that is really strange that it says they did it. I'm looking at this box score against Arizona, and I've got Gates 33-yard pass, Kading field goal, Vincent Jackson receiving TD, Kading field goal, Racker's field goal. Or no, wait, I'm sorry, that's Cardinals. So Kading field goal to make it 27-7. V-Jack's pass, Gates pass, Kading field goal. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing a Tim Dobbins fumble recovery in the end zone.
That's not a.
So there it is. I'm guessing that's
okay.
That might be. Maybe they count. But how do you count that special teams?
That's not a touch. Yeah, I don't know. That is not a rushing touchdown. No.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the play-by-play. Let's see. When was that? Whatever, folks. You're still here. You're a weirdo. Let's see what we got on the. Let's see what we got on the. Where is it in the third quarter? Where is Dobbins? I'm trying to see. I thought that said. Okay, it says Tim Dobbins fumble recovery third quarter at 12:25. So where is my third quarter? 12:25. Yeah, here it is. Mike Cypher's punt, muffed, recovered by Dobbins, returned for a touchdown. So that's not a rushing touchdown to me.
Nor is it to me.
All right. Well, AI is wrong again. Evil AI. And then the same thing in the Seattle game. Vincent Jackson, 37-yard pass. Nate Kading field goal. Nate Kading field goal. Vincent Jackson, 9-yard pass. So, no, it did not happen then. All right. We're staying away from it, Lo.
Yeah.
That was a very bridge too far end of the show. We apologize, everybody, if you stuck around for those 5 minutes.
Everyone stayed because they were like, did it happen? Now they were like getting.
They wanted to see if Lo took another bite of his chicken wing.
I did not.
You still have one next to you? You still have a chicken wing next to you? Here we go. Come on, finish it. Yeah, look at that. Finish it the way it started, man. I love it. I love it. All right. We'll be back again next week.
Both up, baby. I'm out of here.